Welcome to Satya Skills. In this video, let us learn something about the documents to be presented during budget session in Indian Parliament. During budget presentation, there are some documents to be presented to the Parliament. They are broadly classified into three groups. 1. Mandatory under the Constitution of India, documents mandatory under the Act and others. Mandatory under the Constitution. Constitution gives some guidelines in this regard. The following documents are mandatory under the articles 112, 113, 114 and 3 and 1110A of the Constitution of India. They are annual financial statement, demand for grants, appropriation bill, finance bill. Documents under Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. This act was passed on 26th August 2003 and came into force on 5th July 2004 to institutionalize financial discipline, to reduce fiscal deficit and for public funds management with an aim of balanced budget. The Act made the following documents mandatory. 1. Macroeconomic framework for the relevant financial year. Second one, fiscal policy strategy statement for the financial year. Third one, medium term fiscal policy statement. Then other documents. Other documents which are supportive and are in the form of explanatory statements. They are supportive documents for the above documents. They are expenditure budget 1 and 2, receipts budget, budget at a glance, highlights of budget, status of implementation of announcements made in finance minister's speech of the previous financial year. Now, let us look into details of some of the documents. First one is, it's very important one, annual financial statement. It is mandatory according to articles 112 of the Constitution of India. This document presents data relating to receipts and expenditure of 3 years. It presents estimated receipts and expenditure of the Government of India for the budget year in relation to the estimations of previous 2 budgets. Thus, this document shows receipts and expenditure of government for the current year, previous year and the budget year. The receipts and expenditure are shown in 3 components. 1. Consolidated Fund of India, Contingency Fund and Public Account. Second document, demand for grants. Demand for grants is mandatory according to articles 113 of the Constitution of India. This document presents data of the estimated expenditure in the form of demands for grants. It contains the demands of different ministries for grants. Usually, one demand for grant is presented for each ministry or the department, but sometimes as per the special need, ministry can present more than one demand. With regard to union territories, without legislation, separate demand is presented for each union territory. Thus, the government presents separate demands for grants for union territories along with the other ministries' demands. Summary of the document will be given at the beginning of the document and proposals for new services will be given at the end of the document. Example, new service means suppose the government wish to start a new public sector corporation, they have to incorporate at the end of the document. Third one, appropriation bill. Article 114 of 3 of the Constitution of India says that no amount can be withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund of India without enactment of law by the Parliament. Once the demand for grants are examined by the Parliament, the appropriation bill is presented to withdraw the amount from the Consolidated Fund. Finance bill. Article 110A of the Constitution of India says finance bill is a money bill. It deals with the legislation of taxes. It gives details of imposition, abolition, remission, alteration and regulation of taxes proposed in the budget. macroeconomic framework for the relevant financial year. This document is mandatory according to the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act of 2003. It gives analysis of economic growth, GDP, growth prospects, stability of both internal and external sectors, etc. It also presents fiscal balance of the Government of India and external sector for balanced state of economy. Fiscal policy strategy statement for the financial. This is the second one under the Act. This is another document under the Act. It shows the government priorities with regard to taxation, investments and expenditure. Third one, medium term fiscal policy statement. This is the document required under the Act. It gives 3-year rolling targets for revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, primary deficit, tax revenue, non-tax revenue, central government debt. It also gives details of effective revenue deficit tax to GDP ratio. The document presents the strategic priorities of the government with regard to taxation, expenditure and investments. Now, other documents. Other documents are explanatory statements that support the above explained documents. These are not mandatory according to law, they are useful for quick reference, and some of them are expenditure budget. Both 1 and 2, it shows estimates made for various programs on net basis together on revenue and capital basis. Receipt budget provides details of tax and non-tax revenue, capital receipts. It also provides statement on areas of tax revenues and non-tax revenues. Budget at a glance shows in brief receipts and disbursements along with details of tax revenue and other receipts, and also details of resources transferred by the central government to the state governments and union territories. That's all in this video. All the best.